Now, I just got through watching the trailer for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I just kept forgetting to watch it. I knew it was there, but every time I sit down at the computer, I forget to watch it. And, really, that's inexcusable because I loved the first Amazing Spider Man movie. It was the best Spider Man movie. Now, that's not to say I hated the Tobey Maguire movies. Actually, the Amazing Spider-Man slightly edges out Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 has a special place in my heart. Even though I didn't really like how Tobey Maguire portrayed the character, I don't know if it's because of Tobey Maguire or it was because of Sam Raimi, the director, who didn't want a jokey, sarcastic Spider-Man. And that's the whole point of the character. That's why Spider-Man's my favorite. It's got the most personality, the most character. Everybody knows I got Spider-Man tattooed on my left arm. It's my favorite superhero of all time. It's better than Batman, better than Superman, better than Deadpool. You know, these Deadpool fans, I'll tell you, that's a story for another day. But what did I think about the trailer? The trailer. Well, not that it was bad or anything. Pretty exciting trailer, lots of stuff going on in it, fitting as much action and story into 2 minutes as they possibly could to tell you what the movie was about. There, I gave you the definition of basically what a trailer is. But nah, a decent trailer, but I got problems. Oh, stop it. Don't judge. I'll judge if I want to. That's the freedom here on YouTube. You can say what you want. Well, sort of, you know. But anyway, my complaints are as follows. CGI up the ass. I felt like I was at the proctologist office right here because, I felt like a giant hand was going up my ass here. And CGI was just stuffing it up my ass, I tells you. First, they show you Rhino, but you can't really see him from the front. That's Paul Giamatti. And plus, I couldn't even tell if, you could see him in the trailer. Was Giamatti even in there? Tell me the exact second of the video that he was there. I didn't see him. I didn't see his face. I didn't hear him. But he is playing Rhino. But why is Rhino mechanical? Why the fuck is he a goddamn fucking robot? I don't, like this. Why is he like a big fucking machine? He looks like he's some type of, he looks like the robot, the evil robot from RoboCop, for God fucking sakes. Why does he look like that? Rhino in the comics, in the classic cartoon show, he wore just a regular rhino suit and he looked like a rhino. This guy just looks like a fucking tin can. And, not only that, but it's all CGI, just like the RoboCop evil robot was. He was so CGI back when CGI wasn't really developed quite yet. They used trick photography back then. The early stages of CGI when it wasn't even really called CGI. That's what it reminded me of. Some people are gonna call me out on this and tell me that this is how it is nowadays. That's how it is. Fuck that shit. I just want a normal looking character. Why does everything have to be fake? It not really there. Why couldn't they find a way to put him in a rhino costume? It could have looked ridiculous, but nowadays with all the great costume makers, I watch Face Off. There's a lot of people on there that, future movie makers that make excellent fucking costumes. Why can't they figure out some fucking way how to make a rhino costume that doesn't have to be all CGI'd up the ass and all mechanical looking? I don't like how it looked. It's kind of disappointing. Kinda. It was really disappointing. Move on to Electro. Now, I understand that this is how the Ultimate Spider-Man Electro looks, but the way the Electro I know looks has the lightning on his face, and you know, once again, it could have looked goofy maybe in the movie, but with all the costume stuff that they do nowadays, they probably could have figured out some way to make it look good. And plus, this other one, once again, is all CGI'd up. You know, he's all blue and stuff, and the Electro I know isn't blue. He's green and yellow. So they changed the whole fucking costume and color scheme of the classic villain. And here's my other problem right here. What the fuck is up with Rhino and Electro? Could they have picked lousier fucking villains? Let's put everything on the fucking back burner here for a minute. Forget about how they look and CGI wise. Give us fucking Venom, give us fucking Carnage, give us a symbiote storyline. Give us what everybody wants. Everybody is clamoring for them to restore Venom to his greatness after what they did to his ass in Spider-Man 3 by having Topher motherfucking Grace portray him and fucking destroy that fucking character and run it into the fucking ground. Why can't they give us the storyline? This is my idea. Remember the 14-part Maximum Carnage comic book series? Why can't they put that on the fucking screen? Put Captain America in there, put everybody in there, put the Punisher in there, put everybody fucking in that movie. Or if they don't even want to do that, just give us motherfucking Venom. And, possibly Carnage. Why, we go from the Lizard, who I wasn't that crazy about. I loved the movie, but wasn't crazy about the villain. But why the fuck did I have to have these villain choices are just ridiculous. They're not really the major villains. Major villains are like Dr. Octopus, Venom, Carnage. The guys that give Spider-Man a real problem. Even Scorpion is above them. When you rank the villains, Mysterio. If they want to do CGI, give us Mysterio, for God fucking sakes. Mysterio would look awesome on the big screen. Can you imagine all those illusions and everything and the smoke when he disappears? It would look fucking incredible with, today's CGI and special effects. Instead they're just using special effects for Rhino and his fucking costume. Holy motherfucking shit. I think that is a fucking waste. And plus it looks stupid. Also, okay, so the first Spider-Man movie, which I enjoyed, just Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe's costume looked pretty fucking ridiculous. Many people were comparing the look of the costume to a Power Ranger back then. And I agree. I think the costume fucking sucked. And I'm talking about an older movie there. The movie that I actually really like, but the costume looks stupid. So you might be saying, Brett, maybe it could be a good movie. I'm not saying it's not going to be a good movie. I'm just saying that I have a lot of complaints with the look and the style of it. I'm not a big fan of how the movie looks, but storyline-wise, character-wise, Andrew Garfield is a good Peter Parker Spider-Man. I like this. I like him as the character. I don't know storyline wise with this whole thing with Harry Osborn and his father, Spider-Man's father, why, they're getting into this whole thing. It's like some ultra complicated storyline. I don't know. I'm going to reserve my opinion. I'm a bit skeptical on this story right here with what they're going for. I would prefer, a simpler storyline. There's no need to make it so complex. I don't know why they're getting into all these different things that weren't even in, the original comic. I don't read comic books anymore, the new ones anyway. But, I don't know if this is a storyline that exists within it. Tell me if it does, but I, don't really know where they're going with it. If it's if it's even a real storyline. But even if it's not, it might be good. It's just, I don't know, seems a little bit weird. I think they could go in a different direction. All right, so yeah, there's my opinion on the trailer. A little bit too much CGI. Not a big fan of the villain choices. Looks like there's going to be a decent amount of action in there. Looking forward to more of Andrew Garfield's performance as Spider-Man, and that's the number one positive. If everything else ends up sucking in this movie, at least I know that Andrew Garfield will put in a decent performance as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I'm a fan of his, and I like the way he portrays my favorite superhero. So there you go. Get the fuck out of here. I gave you your little damn review on the trailer of Amazing Spider-Man 2. There you go. Alright.